Before the video gets started, be sure to toss a like and a subscribe. It helps the algorithm so much. I've said that so many times, but I'm just going to continue the train. Let's get to it. We're talking about the greatest families in sports history. Due to the 2023 contract extension that LeBron James signed with the Lakers, he has now set himself up to play with his kid, Bronny Jr. Due to this, we're just going to look at the greatest families in sports and see where LeBron James and Bronny Jr. might very well end up on the hierarchy, the pantheon, the list of the greatest families in sports history. Having said all that, be sure to tune into the end because I have a couple of reasons why I think LeBron James Sr. and Bronny Jr. may very well be the greatest family in sports history. But before that, we're going to look at the greatest families, in my opinion, in no particular order. Just a fun little video to kind of look back on in my opinion, the greatest families in sports history. Coming in before we get to the list, again in no particular order, I'm going to give a couple honorable mentions to the Sedins and the Halls. Brett and Bobby Hall are the only family members to ever score 50 goals each in their careers, which is absolutely astonishing. The Sedins as well, their chemistry on ice was unmatched, unparalleled. They both combined for, in my opinion, the greatest goal ever scored.
Took early on to just getting control of the puck, kept his legs moving to make sure that he kept that 2-on-1. There's Daniel, what a goal! Hat-trick, Daniel Sedin, what a beauty!
So the Sedins and the Halls coming in, honorable mentions. Obviously I had to mention the Sedins because they're my favorite. No offense to Trevor Linden, no offense to Pavel Bure, no offense to Luongo, but they're the greatest Canucks of all time, and the Canucks are my favorite team, so honorable mention to them. Love you, Sedins. First off, let's get right to it. Fathered by Dell, the Curry family. Now, Dell is the greatest sixth man of all time in NBA history. We all know about Dell. Seth and Steph, obviously being this generation's greatest brotherhood in sports. I would presume that's how people normally feel. Seth, astonishingly, has averaged a higher three-point percentage than Steph, which is a little bit underrated sometimes, in my opinion. I feel like Seth should get a little bit more credit and maybe should shoot the ball a little bit more. Last year, he averaged 45% from three-point, which is just mind-boggling. Steph, obviously, three-time NBA champion, unanimous regular season MVP, leader of the 73-9 win Golden State Warriors. Now, this hasn't quite equivocated to postseason success. We all know his numbers have dipped a little bit in the postseason. That's due to defense and people locking him down and injuries and whatnot, aka Kevin Durant, aka Klay Thompson. So he's not going to be able to play as well when he can lock Steph down as much. He hasn't won a Finals MVP, so I feel like that's the only, if any, knock on Steph's career. He also, in that 73-9 win season, shot 402 three-pointers, averaging 6.5 a game, which is by far an NBA record. I think second place is 287 threes, which is set by Klay Thompson in the same year. That was just the greatest shooting experience we've ever seen in our entire lives. Having said that, the Curry family, one of the greatest families in sports. Next up, we have the Jones family. First off, I'm going to mention Chandler Jones because Chandler Jones, over the past 5 seasons, since 2015, has averaged 12.5, 11, 17, 13, and 19 sacks in the NFL. Oh my gosh. Man, come on. As a D lineman, Chandler Jones is absolutely ripping the league to pieces. This guy led the league in sacks last year, and if he wasn't injured this year, he could very well have been leading the league again. Now to his brother, the much more well-known Jon Jones, greatest UFC fighter in history, in my opinion. He is by far a tactician, a mastermind. He is an assassin. He is the greatest UFC fighter of all time. This is no disrespect to Anderson Silva, Fedor Emelianenko, Jose Aldo, GSP, BJ Penn, Matt Hughes, Ronda Rousey, Chuck Liddell, Khabib, Dominic Cruz, Wanderlei Silva, Randy Couture, Mirko Cro Cop, Royce Gracie, Quentin Jackson, aka Rampage Jackson, Uriah Faber, Junior Dos Santos, Conor McGregor. Jon Jones is the GOAT. Jon Jones is the most technically pristine mixed martial artist we have ever seen in our entire lives. We are blessed to witness this man go. This guy's better than Anderson Silva in his prime. Think about that. I feel that Jon Jones, pound for pound, in his prime, would beat any one of the aforementioned fighters, and that is astonishing. Jon Jones is literally the GOAT right before our eyes. He's only 33 years old. He's probably going to win the heavyweight bout. There's nothing that needs to be said about the Jones family. Moving on, let's get to the Manning family. Now, Archie Manning, the father of Peyton and Eli, who, again, this generation will know a little bit more, was the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints back in the day. Unfortunately, Archie never won a championship. This isn't due to Archie's talent. Archie was a very good quarterback talent. He just didn't have the talent around him in the newly formed New Orleans Saints. So unfortunately, Archie never got a championship. However, he did marry Olivia Williams Manning, and we have her, not anyone else but her, to thank for Tom Brady not having 11 rings. Had she not given birth to Peyton, had she not given birth to Eli, Tom Brady would have 11 rings. So thank you, Olivia Williams Manning. You are the GOAT. You are the GOAT. You are the greatest of all time. Praise be to you. Thank the heavens for you. Because again, without them, we've got Tom Brady with 11 rings, and I'm sitting here with my thumb up my bum, hating life because I already can't stand Tom Brady. Let's not talk about Tom Brady. We're talking about the greatest families in sports, aka the Sutters. Hello? The Sutters. Dwayne, Brent, Daryl. They have almost 5,000 games in the NHL combined. They are arguably the most underrated family in NHL history, or even any sports history. 5,000 games combined. They have 6 Stanley Cups combined, Dwayne and Brent as players. They have 2 Stanley Cups and Daryl as a head coach. Daryl also led the Calgary Flames to the finals once, the LA Kings to the finals twice, and won those 2 Stanley Cups. That is, in my opinion, arguably and easily arguably, the greatest family in sports history. Next up, we have the Griffeys. Now, Ken Griffey Sr. won a couple of championships with the Cincinnati Reds back in the dynasty when, Pete Rose was back in the gang, swinging the bat, getting on base, 4,000 fucking million hits, 4,200 and whatever hits, led the league all time, still isn't in the Hall of Fame because he bet on his own team to win because he knew he was going to win because he was that good. Ken Griffey Sr. won a couple championships with that guy. Now, they are famously known for hitting back-to-back home runs in Seattle. That is one of the greatest moments in sports history, in my opinion. Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. hitting back-to-back home runs for the Seattle Mariners. Ken Griffey Jr., the sweetest swing in baseball history. First ballot, guaranteed Hall of Famer. 630 home runs. Should have won a couple championships. Didn't go his way. That's okay. The Griffeys, one of the greatest families in sports history. Now getting to it, like I said I would. The Jameses. LeBron James Sr. and Bronny Jr. They could very well go down as the greatest family in sports history. And we've listed some very, very profound families. Now, LeBron James is going to retire with 40,000 points, 10,000 assists, and 10,000 rebounds, and be the only player to do so, which is, again, in a pantheon, in a mountaintop, all on his own. He could very well surpass Michael Jordan if he wins 2 more championships with the Lakers and 3-peats. If he does this, he is, hands down, bar none, the greatest basketball player of all time. Bronny Jr. is not going to be like his dad, LeBron James Sr. He's going to be much more like his real dad.
Who's my dad? Steph Curry.
Now, I say this because Bronny has been working on his shooting, and in my opinion, could very well be a better shooter than his daddy right now. If he enters the league in 2023 and forgoes the college season and just goes right to the draft, he could end up being a better shooter than Steph Curry. Now imagine that. Bronny Jr. coming in being a better pure shooter than his true dad.
Steph Curry.
Bang! Bang!
And breaking 3-point records. Can you imagine LeBron James Sr. doing what he's done in his career, and then Bronny Jr. coming in and breaking 3-point records? That would be absolutely astonishing. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate it so much. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I post about sports daily. Stay safe. Take care out there. Till next time.